Hi, Bianca. Good morning. And thank you so much for being on Trauma Rockstars podcast. I've been so looking forward to talking to you because you provide such a unique and alternative way for people to heal. And I'm very interested in it. And I think a lot of people are going to be. So thank you so much for joining me today. So if you want to start by your story about how this journey all started for you is so interesting. So could you just maybe go back and time back to when you first started this, your own spiritual journey and how it got you to helping others?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I am a hypnotherapist. My experience going into this like helping others to transform their experiences in their lives to more positive is I have always been aware of there being more than the story I was told as a little child, but it wasn't until I became a mother that things started shifting like big time.
I have to tell you, not to interrupt you, but when I read about after you had your first child, I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Now I moved from Europe to the US by myself, but my connection with my family wasn't like very close. But when my first child was born, my grandmother, who I hadn't seen in many years, came as a surprise visiting with my mother to meet my newborn. My first child, and it was wonderful just to see her. And obviously I am deeply connected to my family even if I moved abroad. But it was the way I was like intuitively trying to raise my son, or at least trying to take care of a newborn. I was holding him a lot, and I was meeting the need to be close when he was crying. It just felt right to pick him up and have him close instead of letting him cry. But it was that my grandmother told me that I was spoiling him and he was only 2 weeks old at the time. But I mean, she may have meant well, but yeah. I was a new mom. My birth experience in the hospital was already not so joyful, and I already felt judged by the staff there with that experience. And stepping into a new role, completely foreign, and not really having any family around or a true support system to help you through the process of stepping into the new identity. You already are like so vulnerable. So, and then you have a grandparent that you haven't seen in over 15 years, maybe even just 10 to 15 years, something around there. So it's just like really big, and my mother there. So I look up to them for advice, they have been there before. They know what to do. But the very first thing I was hearing is I'm not a good mother because I was holding my son too much. I was spoiling him. And then there was this, they were cooking in the kitchen, making a traditional Dutch meal. It was for hours. They were spending time in the kitchen, and I was really looking forward to that. I haven't had that meal in many years. But right when dinner was ready and we were to sit at the table, my son had been sleeping and he woke up and he was crying. And I felt like, okay, I have to go to him. Clearly, that felt like the right thing. I am not going to let him cry there. And because I chose to do that, it hurt their feelings, my grandmother's feelings particularly, because she said that she was slaving in the kitchen for me to then choose to go pick up my son and bring him with me. And she thought that it would be better to just let him cry and sit at the table, be respectful of your elders because of all the time that she spent in the kitchen. And it just felt odd. Like I felt that I really felt like I needed to go pick up my son. I mean, I could have brought him into the living room, but the whole ordeal left me like, okay, I'm gonna stay there, close the door. I was trying to process what had just happened.
Right.
And I was being told that I was a bad mother for doing this, for holding him too much and choosing to come to him and not go to her, being a bad mother for that. But that was kind of the turnaround for me to start going inward, because once they left, I was left with this huge question, like, what is this? What does this mean to me? Like the people that I look up to have had some advice to share around raising, like taking care of a baby, but most of it, like, was coming out of their mouths seemed to be very negative and negative about me. I started to understand that these are traditions, perhaps they're generational ways of how to raise children, how to take care of newborn children, letting them crying it out. And I know this is more centered around like caring for children, but as I went on about like learning how to be present with my child, I also felt this instinctive pull to me just not follow those ways. But obviously when I was doing the things opposite from how they said I should do it, it felt like a tug, like I'm bad, I'm not doing right, there's something wrong with me, yet it feels the right way. Now that really just opened up the whole can of worms of like, how am I left feeling like a bad mother, bad person in the eyes of my family that I haven't seen in many years. And because they live abroad, they left. That's just when my inner journey started, trying to decode what all this meant. Like, who am I if they see me this way? Who am I if I don't fall into these acceptable ways of raising children? But yeah, it really became more also of listening to my intuition. And because they lived abroad, it was easier to follow through with that without that constant inner, I mean, I had the inner voice clearly present, but the external pressure or the enmeshment of family pushing you a certain direction or pressure wasn't really there. So it was a little easier for me to just follow through with my intuition, doing some research about other ways of approaching how to nurture little ones from baby to older. And yeah, I definitely started going more towards a conscious, gentle parenting approach. And I had 3 more children after, so I have 4 now. And with each one of them, it's almost like I went deeper. But I really started untangling the patterns on my family side, because there were a lot of insecurities, a lot of pressures to perform. I saw the perfectionism in my mother, and I was even trying to go back to these memories that I had when I was being told that I have to watch what I eat because I was gaining weight. And it's again all that judgment. But it may come from good intentions, but it is without awareness. So it was really just untangling all these patterns that I saw and my maternal ancestry, that even going so far back to my great-grandmother, whom had a child out of wedlock when she was 15.
Okay.
And she was...
is this in Europe?
That was in Europe, yes.
Okay.
So from what I've heard then, it's that she had to spend that entire time for many years in the attic. Like, she was a disgrace to the family, perhaps to the town, for having a child at that age out of wedlock, and they hid her away. Just imagining the way she may have unconsciously projected that onto her children, onto my grandmother.
Yes, the generation cycle.
Exactly. Yeah. And my grandmother wasn't allowed to drive a car by my grandfather. He didn't find it necessary. She used to take the public transportation or walk by foot. But once he passed away, she did try to take driving lessons, but it was kind of hard for her to grasp at that age already to learn. It was harder. So she didn't get her driving license then, but it just shows that the worth of us as women was severely declined. At least the perception of we weren't worthy. Like then the perception of not being worthy of being among the people, like my great-grandmother, she didn't belong or was accepted because of the circumstances.
Right.
My grandmother wasn't allowed to do things. I mean, it may have been the norm, but at some level, it's still very small. Like very small, you can't do much. It's almost as if you're living for others. You're living for your husband, you're living for your kids, but who are you living for? And then my mother was always very particular about the way I had to dress and the way I looked. And even my grandmother was making comments when I was in my teens about how I was dressing too provocatively, and I was literally just trying to figure out who I was beneath all that baggage that they put on me, like who I had to be. So I really started untangling all of that once they had left from visiting with the baby. And it just went from there. Eventually I was rekindling my interest with spiritual stuff, because when I was younger, when we started, there was always this understanding that there was more to life than the stories told, or even the things that I heard in school. And some of the things didn't seem to be right, but I went along with it. So I actually started opening up more with that, because I've read about it. I started with Reiki, and I've heard of, since I was already untangling my maternal ancestry stuff, that was one of the ways that I could start working.
Can you explain what Reiki is? Because I don't think a lot of people know what it actually is.
Yes, it's a universal life force energy, loving energy that would be channeled through the hands. That's coming down from the crown, and then as it comes in from the crown and it extends from the hands. We are all connected to it, but there are ways. So Reiki requires attunement to open up these channels to allow this energy to flow freely. And in the very beginning, I had to do constant self-Reiki to just strengthen my ability to connect with that energy, to make some form of relationship with it. And so yeah, but basically when I would be doing Reiki, it can bring stuff to the forefront, like it can clear blocks or brings more awareness to stuff, like especially repressed baggage, memories. It can bring it gently to the surface. I definitely feel that opened more doors for me, because from there on I did go further into other energy healing practices, working with Akashic records, soul realignment.
I want to talk about all these different therapies that you offer, because they're so interesting. And I guess I was going to ask you about the Akashic records, but do you want to talk about that first, or the soul realignment first?
I mean, I can explain both a little bit, because soul realignment does utilize the Akashic records. It's just a different way of connecting. But yeah, the Akashic records are, you can kind of consider it as an etheric library that we are all connected to, and it holds information about all of us and our soul's journey, where we have been, where we may be going. And there are ways to tap into that. it does require going within and like choosing to tap into that. But you can find answers in that way to the patterns in your life. Like, what's the purpose of these experiences? What is my soul here to learn about this experience? So if you have challenges, like I was seeking, trying to find answers around my stuff with my mother, because my relationship with her was kind of rocky. But it allowed me to tap into that etheric wisdom that we really are all connected. It's always there, it's always present, but there has to be a willingness and a readiness to be able to connect with that realm, to connect with the information there.
Do you connect? Is that with the hypnosis?
That's different.
Okay. Sorry. We'll get to that then. I don't want to. Sorry.
No worries. No. I work with different modalities.
Right.
But yeah, so some people visualize it as a very large library of sorts with scrolls that are very long. If they open them up, there's just all this information about the soul's journey, their past lives, and if you believe in that. But a lot of that information is very useful to bring clarity and understanding to what is happening.
How do you tap into that? Obviously, you're guiding your clients through it, but how do you get deep into that?
I usually just sit quietly with myself, and then there's a prayer of sorts that it's like an intention to connect with the Akashic realm, setting my ego aside and really connecting for the highest good of everyone that is going to be in the experience, and with permission of the other person, of course, and with their name, to make sure that we are connecting with their specific Akashic record. So I sit with the intention to connect, and then usually once the records are open, I will have my eyes closed, and I will see the ancestors lining up, kind of like it's not a very clear visual, but it is just an awareness and perceiving there to be some wise beings, the masters, teachers, loved ones, ancestors. They're all there on the other side, and we are able to connect with their wisdom, particularly the masters and the teachers, to gather the information about this particular client's experience that they're trying to get clarity on. Oftentimes they're seeking understanding to why they are not able to feel more at peace with a relationship. Why are they coming back to it? It's the patterns in their life. Where is that rooted? And then I will find it could be connected to their childhood. It could be some ancestral pattern that's being passed through. It could be past life connections that are replaying, like on a loop. You can consider that karmic. Just to see, like, what was some experiences of I had someone that really didn't know their purpose. That would be one of the reasons somebody would have a reading, like what are they meant to do? And basically the Akashic realm shows what they are like connecting to instead. Like could be they're holding on to certain beliefs or certain things about themselves that is very far from who they are, which can be blocking their ability to step into who they are meant to be. So being able to hear these things, they often get like an aha moment. Okay, this makes sense. Sometimes I see past experiences from like past life that shows them they have been persecuted for practicing a craft that, like, you could say witchcraft, right? Say they may have been persecuted, and that's something that I tend to see a lot when I am with people that are into the spiritual realms and they want to be a healer, or like working with herbals, or just in the or even in the healing arts, like the being a licensed mental health professional, or even a doctor or a nurse, but just anything that focuses on the well-being of human beings.
Right.
But they find themselves struggling to step into this moving forward, because somehow they are feeling like they're being held back. And these past experiences show them, one was like they're being persecuted, so doing something that they truly believed in was then led to their demise. And then at the subconscious level, there might be this perception beneath all the reality now that is replaying that story. It's not safe to do these things. It's not safe. It's not safe. It's not safe. And that story that is on loop in the subconscious, that is connecting to the past experience, is causing that energetic block.
Interesting.
You may not be aware of that.
Yeah, how would
intellectually,
you?
yeah, it's but once that understanding is there, and it is not tied to their current experience, it's not the present here and now. And then there's also, I get the information from the masters, teachers, and loved ones about who they really are. So beneath all of these layers of perceptions of themselves based on beliefs and all these expectations of others that somehow formed an identity in this life that they have to abide by, who are they beneath all that?
Right.
And oftentimes it something shifts once they hear this information, and just it allows them to, like, when they hear these things, it's like there's this that within, we already know that, but we aren't able to tap into that when we are abiding by the identity that we've created to feel safe. But beneath that, there is this awareness, and that awareness, once you're being told about who you really are, there is a resonance, and it often stirs up stuff. And whenever that stirs up stuff, then like perhaps like crying, or some people, they release that burden of the expectation that they've placed upon themselves, or believe they had to be because others told them to, perhaps their parents, or even past life, the past life experience of that it wasn't safe. It was circumstantial, because oftentimes it's more like it was an experience that was meant to be had. It wasn't defining you as a human being of your worth, that it wasn't defining you as being wrong in any way for practicing what you did, because you did it for a reason. And when it comes to like being persecuted for like witchcraft, it just showed that there is duality. There's always going to be people that don't like what you do. Somehow they feel challenged by it. There will always be the polarity of dark and light.
Yes.
It is just not a reason to diminish yourself, diminish your own light, and diminish what you feel you need to do that's right for you, and how it affects the other people, just to keep them happy, to preserve the peace.
With the accessing, I don't know if I'm saying it properly, but accessing the Akashic, is that how you pronounce it? Akashic records. Is that done, like, how long does that take? Is it several sessions? Can it be done in an hour with some people? What is involved with doing that?
It takes about 45 minutes.
Oh,
I wouldn't go longer because of the energy it will start to this. It's just very
it's a lot.
it's a lot, like it does make you have to drink water afterwards. I have to ground but yeah, one session, I mean, it brings stuff to the forefront, right? I mean, we all have maybe many things going on in our lives and there are many, many layers that need to be brought up at the right time, right? Not all of that is at the right time, but it just allows you to chip away at things, and it's just one modality amongst the many that can help with that, to bring to the front what's going on beneath that, the why, the how, the what. And then I know the soul realignment is also utilizing the Akashic records.
This sounds like we're getting into the soul realignment now.
Yeah, and that's also utilizing the Akashic records. I use a different way to connect with that, and it's also a different. So the soul realignment would look for specific details, like soul's origination, the soul gift. Like we all have a particular energetic vibration that we carry with us from incarnation to incarnation. It's just our essence, and none of that is going to be exactly the same as everyone else. We all carry our own unique signature. But if you are, again, like completely layered with beliefs and stuff like repressed emotions and expectations from others, you're having a hard time to tap into that. So being able to have that information allows yourself to, like, you may already know somewhat. We all have that intuition within us that we feel guided to do something specific, but we may be like, oh well, maybe this is not what I should be doing. This is not gonna make me successful. My parents won't accept me if they do that, or the society won't. I would be an outcast or whatsoever. It's really to come back to understanding it's okay to be who I am. It's often confirmation of these underlying understandings or knowings that we have already. But yeah, so that you can use the Akashic records for a whole bunch of different things. It's just that a regular Akashic records reading goes into current circumstances. Like I would have a dialogue with my client about what's going on for them, and then I will be gathering that information specific for that particular thing that they're trying to understand. And then soul realignment would use specific details already. I mean, they can set an intention, but it will draw out specific information about the soul group of origination. So we have incarnated before, and it may have been on Earth many times. It could have been elsewhere, and also that carries particular a vibration of or an essence that also influences who we are. But then also we go further into looking deeper at are there any past lives or experiences currently?
So I was going to ask you, because when I'm just thinking the trauma that I've been through, accident and being assaulted and stuff, those just happen. Past life trauma that carries on for generations, centuries, things like that. Could it, when that carries forward without breaking that pattern, could that create more trauma in your current life?
It could. It's possible. I don't want to say necessarily that is
right
the way. Everybody's experience is unique. But
it sounds like the importance, though, to it is to really just understand what has carried over for generations, because you see it, like you said, in your mother, your grandmother, your great-grandmother. I see it in my own family with my generations and stuff. It sounds like it's an important piece of the puzzle, though, for people who are feeling lost or not what their purpose should be, or even I want to do something. I want to help. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to begin. Like, it sounds like that's a key ingredient to break that, like you said, the shift, to have that shift.
It's definitely very helpful. Now, coming back to with the trauma, I too have had an experience where my ex-partner had it was very abusive, very physically, emotionally, mentally. Like actually that was another key turning point where I had to start claiming my worth. But it's not that wasn't just a one-time thing. It just the experience itself. But as I have done further work, so I went all of the when I started with my husband now, with my kids. It was a sense of safety where these things were actually possible for me to start untangling. But I have so I started Reiki, Akashic practice, all of them, these modalities just allowed me to dig deeper and dig deeper. But I had to even go further. And that's just my personal journey. So I have even learned more modalities to get deeper to the core of it, because I also felt that at some level, like it's kind of like with your readiness, like how deep you are ready to go, bringing shifts. It's kind of like, we are peeling an onion. The top one is easy to come off, and the next one might be a little bit less easy, and the other ones are going to be tough to come out. But once they are exposed, you can slowly chip away at it. The biggest shifts that I have noticed was when I started with hypnosis. Hypnosis modalities.
Yeah. Because this is where it's just fascinating.
Yeah, because so instead of having the readings that I do, they are great. I see a lot of benefit in it, and they are good for when people are ready for that, and that could be just enough to just start opening up the Pandora's box and start kind of getting a better idea of who you are. But then the hypnosis allows you to have these experiences for yourself. The hypnosis allows you to go within your own experience. So I know I can do the readings, like the Akashic records, for myself, but if I were to have a client, or like if I were a client or having the readings, then another person would be doing it for me. I'm not having the experience myself, but it is valid. But then at some point, for me, it was like, I need more. I need to go deeper. So I peeled a couple of layers, but then those modalities themselves are useful, and they do help with day-to-day stuff to get to just get out of my sometimes with the mind that says, oh, you're not good enough. No, I know I'm good enough. I hear the Akashic realm and the wise the teachers and the masters telling me who I am, and it helps me get back up again. But then you have like that inner voice is still there. We got to work on those inner parts that we have. And then with hypnosis, so I started with QHHD, which is a past life regression modality created by Dolores Cannon. So that stands for Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. That one allowed me to go within and have these experiences for myself. So I was able to see for myself some of the things that have influenced my current life experience, although that was also still touching the surface. I have been going deeper since then, but it brought awareness to the reason why I'm on this journey of like untangling and seeing. I was seeing some really interesting things, but that really solidified further that I feel guided to be a bridge between the physical realm and the other side, because we are more than human beings, and if we understand the other part of it, we also get to understand that we are more than the challenges, and these challenges are allowing us to chip away at these experiences to get closer to who we know ourselves to be beneath all of that. So if, like, with my experience with my ex, for example, I was killed twice, nearly, right? And obviously I'm still sitting here, but the experience was so intense, and I know this is raw and vulnerable, but something snapped, right? So I can just go back into the experience. So he did something that led me to lose consciousness.
Oh man.
And I found myself aware, like I was out of body and aware, and I'm still trying, maybe an out of body experience of sorts, but I found myself in a void, and it was very disorienting. I was really confused, really freaked out. I was like just floating in nothingness, nothing around, all by myself. And then it felt like eternity. And then all of a sudden I came back in body, and I was really completely confused, flopped on the floor. My ex somehow freaked out about it. I don't know, like, if he thought that was the end of me, but something else happened. I mean, that should have been another red flag. He did that for fun, actually. But I wasn't, aware of my worth. So I didn't question that at the time. I mean, I kind of felt, but I ignored it.
Yeah.
And I maintained the relationship because I didn't want to be alone. I didn't want to be abandoned or rejected or anything like that. And it was very abusive continuing forward. And then another experience happened that it was, he put he put me in a position where I wasn't able to do anything either. And I couldn't do anything, and I felt like that was the end of it. But then something, like, when you're in survival mode, you're not, it's just like I want to, but something came, just a thought popped in mind, and it's like, remember that time, referring to the very first time that I lost consciousness.
Wow.
So I was guided to pretend that happened again, which led to him stopping it. I had to. It was like I had to act. I'm not good at acting at all, but in that moment, it was like I was.
You just knew.
Yeah, I had to do that. So that was, and not long after that, I ended up finding ways to get out. And I feel that as soon as I made that decision, things lined up so easily for me to make that move. Even though it still makes me wonder, like, how did that happen? But yeah, so that really reminded me of my worth. Like, I deserve more than this. I don't deserve to be treated like the way he's been treating me. I am a human being. I deserve more than this. And that was an ongoing. It's still, I have to get deeper and deeper, but it is through the hypnosis and the regression stuff that I have found past life experiences where I had no worth too. So even though there's an ancestral history on my maternal side where women didn't have a voice, they didn't have rights, I've had more experiences in the past that confirmed my belief about myself, reaffirming I'm not worthy anything now as a female. Now I have seen myself also as a male in some incarnations, but these particular ones connected to being a female very much like solidified then the belief that I can speak up. It's not safe to do so. Go ahead.
Do you feel, I'm sorry, Bianca, go ahead.
That's okay.
No, I'm just thinking, like, your own horrible trauma experiences that you've been through has probably made you such a better, like, coach and guide for your clients, because and you've gone so deep into like the past life, into your records and things like that. It's gotta help you so much with guiding people, because you know where they can go and what the answers
Mm-hmm.
get from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do feel that. I mean, just looking back at all the experiences that I have had in my life, I mean, I've seen a lot of different corners. I've done things that are deeply frowned upon. I was a rebel.
Oh,
And stuff like
oh yeah.
trying to defy these like this pressure from family, right, to
Yeah.
conform. But then still, it somehow took hold
Yeah.
once I got to the point of something activated it. Okay, now this experience. But yeah, I don't want to keep it. I know there's this person beneath me that in me that wants to live life fully, and I
Yeah.
know everybody wants that, but I also see that everybody has challenges, and it's can be over consuming their lives and keeping them down, keeping them small, stuck in roles they don't belong in or believe they have to prove their worth.
Mhm.
I did too. Like I know that even though I was unraveling ancestral patterns, I also became a housewife and a mother, and I wasn't motivated by anything else at the time. That was my role, and I really, really, really took that so seriously. Like I wrapped my identity around that. This
Mhm.
is who I am. But while I was choosing to somehow find when I was trying to find my worth through that, I was forgetting the person beneath
Mm.
that the me, right? I
Yeah.
was a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a stay-at-home mother. Like doing all those things, the traditional role.
Right.
But there's also another part of me that asks to come forth, and that's by working with these modalities and sharing with others. But yeah, so I've been in different roles. Like I said, I've done things that people are frowned upon. In my younger years, I've like in my very young years, I got in contact with the police. I've done all kinds of things, but I've also experienced a lot of hurt and a lot of suffering. I've had traumatic experiences that are not only in childhood, but I know that they have been there too.
Mhm.
Um, which is more things that I've unraveled further, and getting to those memories of childhood and how it all just, this is a big piece of a puzzle. And I've
Mhm.
been grabbing pieces throughout this entire journey to try to get an idea of what's happening, what's going on, what am I here, what's happening in my life, why have I had these experiences. And with the very beginning, like with the Reiki, I felt like I got the edges of the puzzle, and then
Mm.
I got the other ones, the easier, and then it's so I feel that I'm getting close to like I've put a lot of pieces to an understanding of all of it, and that none of the experiences that I've had mean that I'm a bad person just because other people treated me bad,
Right.
or I allowed them to treat
Mhm.
me bad, because I didn't know any better. Like with my ex, I thought that I should suck it up, because otherwise I'll be left on the street. I mean, he used to make manipulation and threats
Yeah.
that would get me in trouble if I were to do this or that he didn't approve of. Stuff like that. So I had to be quiet, and for the time being, it may have been useful. But I know that if I would have continued on that path, I don't know where I'd be now, if I would be still here.
Right. Right. Well, you're here for a reason. Thank goodness. You
Yeah,
know.
I know we all are. You are
Yeah.
too.
Well, and I'm like you said, I've peeled a couple layers of the onion for myself, but now that I don't know if I told you this when we were talking, but now that I've peeled some of these layers, I want to go deeper now. Like you were saying, I really, because I want to know like, I want all these answers, you know, and stuff as far as I can go with it. And it just seems so exciting that there's opportunities out there to be able to do that. How now I'm an adult now, but I see nowadays, and I feel like, I don't know if it was because when we were growing up, things were just silent, but nowadays it seems like so many children are struggling. And so many children are going through trauma, and we didn't have social media when growing up. Thank God. I'm so happy that we didn't, you know. But I feel like children now, there's so much pressure on them at all ages. And do you find that something like this could help children, or would you start with the parents and then they can, you know, how it just trickles down, like you're saying, what you're instilling with your own children now, you know?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. There is definitely so much pressure on our children, and that's one of the reasons why I have actually chosen to homeschool them, or have my oldest. He's like at a self-directed learning to remove that pressure, so they can really blossom into themselves. But that's my journey. And I'm not going to tell people what they need to choose. But if they find themselves struggling, then I'm a parent coach as well. But yes, I would work with the parents. Like, I would help them to become aware of the patterns that they are unconsciously passing on to their children, because it is a pattern. It's what people would say, breaking the curse, right?
Yeah.
Like from the family lineages, for them to be able to work through, like, why are they putting the pressure onto these children? Like, what is it that they want them to achieve?
So we were talking about children, and you were talking about how with your own children and how you would, being a parent coach, you would start working with the parents to try and help you figure out what's going on with the kids, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is also because I have noticed that within myself, especially to how I would respond or like feel about something what the kids would be doing. But then also intellectually knowing that it's not about the children. They are mirrors to our own unhealed baggage. So whenever we feel triggered, or we feel like we need to have them behave a certain way, where is that coming from? Because it's not the child, right? I mean, of course, we don't want to be biting and hitting kids or throwing like things and stuff, but
Right.
you know, we don't. But then there's another way to approach that, instead of like, you know, like, oh, you're bad, you can't do this, or you need to be disciplined, or you gotta be hiding in the corner or spending time in your room until we say, or when you apologize, which was my experience. Because a lot of our current challenges too can be rooted in our childhood experience, and oftentimes it's parents getting triggered by their children, something the child does or says. Perhaps it's an experience or an expression the child is having, which was denied by themselves long time ago, because right, and then because their parents didn't approve of it, so they denied that part. But if they can't accept these, like their own expression, and the child is having that very expression they denied of themselves years ago, how are they going to accept that with a child? So they might try to mold the child into this acceptable ideal that their parents may have done. But I feel that it's all coming, like it stems from wanting the child to succeed. Like, and success is often defined by material acquisitions, by money. But that's because years and years ago, people lived in scarcity. So working like blood, sweat, and tears, they call that, I think, to get these things back in the day, that may have been what was required. But nowadays, you don't need to. There are people that that don't have any degrees of anything, and they are successful at doing what they love.
Right.
And all it is right now, it is possible, but it is the trying to teach the children that they too have to work blood, sweat, and tears. Going to compulsory schooling, I mean, it's good, it's fine, you know, it can help teach them things.
Right.
It's not my route to guide the children, but it is, for many, it is a great way to like learn about life and be amongst other children, connecting socially. But then there comes this pressure to perform, pressure to have extracurriculars after school hours. So they're gone from like 8 in the morning, I don't know, whenever school starts, but from say 8 in the morning until 8 at night when they come back from extracurriculars. And it's in some ways like, oh, you have to constantly be doing, because doing equals worth, you know, and you're going to be able to get successful when you're older, and or just because then and somehow it can feel like, as a parent, that I'm doing good, I'm setting my kid up for success by pressuring them, by like having them do this, having them do that, even if they may not want to go. Well, you're signed up for it, let's go anyway. And I understand the feeling beneath it. You want to do good by your child.
Right.
Perhaps it's also you want to try to prove to yourself that you are good enough by pushing your child. But then it becomes an agenda, right? It would be a personal agenda. In that case, are you trying to relive your own childhood through your child?
It's so interesting you're saying this, because I'm thinking of your journey, and like, imagine if you hadn't really gotten in touch with who you really were, and that dug deep like that, like how your relationship with your own children would have been probably very different than they are now.
I'd probably do the very same thing my parents did, although maybe through different approaches, approaches that aren't directly the same as how they did it, but still have that underlying message in some ways. Yeah, no, but I also see that because of having all these children, and then two of them, one of them is autistic, the other one is neurodiverse too. That came with another set of challenges, and I think that was also one of the reasons why I really deepen myself more into conscious parenting, because having an autistic child requires a whole different approach. You can't do traditional parenting with autistic children. It doesn't work. And the more you try, the more suffering happens and disharmony happens within the home and the child. You know, you have to change the approach. But changing something that has been so deeply ingrained within you, if that's the way you've been raised, that requires going within and working with your own stuff, because the stuff that's within there will try to sabotage the way you're trying to read, like children. But she was like my daughter, she's 10 now. She really showed me a mirror as well. I mean, all of them did in their own ways. And it's interesting because each child, I am seeing a little part of myself that I once denied.
Oh, now, it's amazing. That's so interesting.
But I am accepting it within them. And that means I have to accept me too. I can't run away from these parts of myself. So that was yet another opportunity to become aware of things that I was holding on to within myself that kept me small, kept me from being true to the parents that I wanted to be, and it dug deeper, further, and I've definitely uncovered a lot more childhood things. And I mean, the modalities that I've mentioned so far can address that, but it may not be very conventional when it comes to a lot of people's interests. You know, it could be a little bit woo-woo out there. But I mean, I'm also working with hypnotherapy now, and I am offering hypnotherapy, traditional, clinical, and I can do that with referrals for those that are trying to work with diagnoses, but getting to the bottom of that within the subconscious. But it all comes back down. A lot of the times it's repressed emotions, it's beliefs, sensitizing events from, like, if you are working with childhood experiences that have built up the personality that we have now. Like, I mean, we have a personality, right? There's something who we are, but then there's also the mask that we wear to be accepted. Perhaps we may have different masks, all within our different groups of friends, or with our parents, or with our children, having the mask of, like, I'm the disciplinary parent, or the next I'm like, oh, I'm the playful parent. Who are you beneath all that? And why do you have these masks? Why? What's the purpose of them? What are you trying to safekeep?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, because I know before we close, this is a kind of a funny question about hypnosis, because I'm very intrigued about it. I think a lot of people will be. And say I came to you, I'm like, Bianca, I want to try hypnotherapy. When I do, could I be very specific with you, like where I want to go with it? Or does it just what comes out, comes out? Like if I said to you, for instance, like, I'd like to see my grandmother, you know, or something like that. Like, can people be very specific, or is it like you just got to kind of do it and see what comes out?
Well, I would say there are ways to connect with specific memories.
Yeah.
To bring these memories to the front, to reconnect with these experiences, perhaps like positive experiences, like if you want to connect with your grandma again. So I would guide you to a memory that was a joyful one with her, so you can reconnect with that experience. And then the majority of the work that would go with hypnotherapy would be uncovering the root cause of the challenges that you're experiencing today, because there is a past connected to that. You know, especially when we have patterns, we're constantly attracting the same kind of person in our lives, and it's just like, oh, okay, this time it's going to be different, but it tends to be the same. Going to, like, some of the time it's like the anxious feelings, nervousness for like public speaking, where there's the traditional weight loss and a smoking cessation, but you can also go further into working with, like, we have different parts, so personalities that are all kind of guiding us forward in our lives, but some of these parts will work against each other. So, like, say you want one thing, but there's also this part of you that feels like, well, maybe I shouldn't, or I can't, or it's not right, but you want to, but you don't want to, and then you're keeping yourself kind of like in limbo. You can't go forward, like, or wanting to, somebody that's on the verge of wanting to end the relationship, but they are scared, or they feel like maybe it's not right, but then there's all these voices in our heads, right? Yeah. We have these inner voices. We have the inner critic, we have the inner child, the emotional one, and the other parts that could all be wanting the best for us, but they are not able to find a real solution. So, like you say, you have one angel here and a devil there, or in backwards for the image here. But then you're aware of these parts, or you're aware of your lights and of your dark side. It's kind of like doing shadow work within a hypnotherapy framework, but just bringing these parts to the front and having a dialogue with it. So it's like a gestalt that you have these parts speak. And when you're in a hypnotic framework, in a hypnosis, it's the conscious mind is put aside, so there's no questioning about the validity. It's just a seamless experience where you're having the dialogue between these parts of yourself.
Right.
You'll talk to your inner child that was hurt. Talk to the part that is trying to keep you in line. May have been dad's or mom's voice that said, oh, you aren't allowed to do that. You should do this instead. So that could be the should part. And then having a back and forth, like, why is the should, like having a understanding, why is that voice, what is it trying to teach you, like what is it trying to protect you from? Right. And having an understanding, and then having a dialogue, and having the piece, the two parts or three parts all come to the to an agreement, perhaps changing the job that they have, and instead of shooting, being open to allowing to have these experiences. It creates a shift within this psyche and the subconscious, and being able to move forward without these parts, or being able to then move forward to make a decision about what it is that you want to do, because now all parts are moving in the same direction, so it will be easier. You won't feel stuck. That's just another way to work with it. And you have age regression to go back to childhood experiences that have been a lot of unresolved, unprocessed emotions, because if you were raised traditionally where emotions were oftentimes frowned upon. Don't cry, crying is for babies. Women aren't allowed to be angry, by the way. And I think for many years we weren't. So I actually realized that I have had, not anymore now, I've worked through it through hypnotherapy and breath work combined, bringing that anger and resentment that was stored in my lower back. And it was tied to my childhood, but it goes even further back. So it's all the thread of the pattern was there, but because I denied to allow myself, because I was once taught that it wasn't okay, we repressed that, and it was manifesting as physical discomfort in my lower back chronically. But so going back to with age regression, you can find memories that have been repressed, or even early memories when you were 5 years old, and you may have knocked over a bowl of milk with cereal, and a parent, it was you bad, you can't do that. But a little child takes that as I'm bad.
Yeah. And people carry that and don't realize it.
Right. And then if you're told you're crying is for boys can't cry because it makes them weak, then you have men that won't be able to cry or have emotions in that sense, or feel threatened by emotions by perhaps their partners. I mean, women tend to be more in touch with their emotional side, but I've also found those that have that repressed because it just wasn't safe to even express joy, because it threaten a parent, why are you laughing, what's the fun about, and then the judgmental tone or disapproval look, and it's not safe to even have a joy, so going within that, having an understanding and being able to express the authentic emotions in a safe space now, because the antagonist or the parents is not going to fight back. But you will also dialogue between these parts that are still playing that same story within your subconscious, and find resolve within that. And that can create such a shift in regards to how you move forward. Even looking at your parents, you may have had disdain for them, or perhaps didn't understand better, but there's also, it's not like you're not going to walk away feeling disdain for them now, because there is a forgiveness and an deeper understanding that is that happens within the session itself, and a lot more peace.
Are you able to, because I know you have a studio, but are you able to do most of these therapies virtually?
Yes, I know I do the QHST one. That's the specific past life regression by Dolores Cannon. That one I only do in person.
Okay.
But everything else that I have mentioned is also available via Zoom.
Okay. And your website is Liberate to Empower, right?
Yeah.
I love it. It's like perfect. It's perfect. I think you're going to spark a lot of interest in people. I know you have in me. So is there any last words you want to say to anybody maybe who's struggling right now, who is kind of tiptoeing, maybe starting to look at a healing journey for them?
It's absolutely safe to explore the alternative healing modalities. It is always wise to make sure that you feel safe with the person offering the modalities first, because feeling safe in the experience is one of the most important things, as you are going to be touching very vulnerable and raw parts of yourself. But every time that you find yourself going towards these modalities, it's also absolutely normal to have doubts or feel trepidation, because you will be working with parts of yourself that find somehow, some way, some safety holding on, and that part might just feel a little fearful, but it's not all of you. It's one part. It's only one part. And once you are able to feel at ease with any practitioner, that may slowly dissipate, but it is the process itself and the outcome that will be totally worth it as you start chipping away at all the layers, which you don't want to do all at once, of course, because that will leave you very vulnerable. But slowly but surely, whatever needs to be resolved, or whatever you're ready for, will show up in the ways that you find yourself challenged, and perhaps noticing repeating patterns in your life, and then working with whatever modality you feel called to explore. It's a process. Also, be gentle with yourself. Very, very gentle. Give yourself grace. This is not a competition or a race to get to the other side. You may notice things getting more intense even afterwards. It is temporarily. Sometimes it's some processing. But anytime things are starting to come up too, it's just a sign that you may be ready to go deeper. But also just take care of yourself. Meanwhile, sometimes you'll find, especially when you're going to start getting deeper within, all the repressed baggage, the emotions, the beliefs, they may amplify because they're coming from your depths, that ones that you may not have been consciously aware of. So you will be feeling them, and that's absolutely okay and safe. Allow yourself to feel any and every emotion that comes up. Take time for self-care. Take baths, really journal, go outside in nature, be with yourself. But know that whenever any of these emotions come up, as you're stepping into the healing work and you're are working already on it, it's not going to stay that way. Like, emotions come like a wave, right? So you will feel them coming up. You'll feel that, but it won't stay that way. Allow it to sit with it, breathe through it if you need to, journal with it, and then it will eventually wane back down like waves do. But it's definitely a sacred work going within. It's also okay to be aware of any of the patterns and the things that you've held on to so long that may be less than joyful. Perhaps you might notice guilt and shame coming up for certain things that you might be aware of, especially if you notice, like I've had patterns that I was aware how I was continuing the pattern by believing certain things about myself. So I had to take accountability for the things that were happening in some aspects. And that's okay. It's safe to do. It's not, it doesn't mean that you have made bad decisions or that you have made bad choices and that you should have made different choices. We always make choices in the moment that seem like the best ones available to us.
Mhm.
So I would never encourage you to judge yourself or shame yourself for the things you've done, the things where you've been. Everything happened for a reason in that moment, in a sense, when you make certain choices, that was the best available to you. But now
Right.
you may know different, and you want to take more empowering choices. You want to be more empowered, and so this work will definitely help you move closer to feeling more empowered day
Perfect.
after day.
And like you said, be gentle, and it's okay to have those guilty and shame feelings because they're normal, and it's just part of your journey to
Yeah, those feelings, they can be a lot for sure, but it's not who you are. These
right,
are the feelings tied to certain beliefs, and these beliefs
right,
are also not who you are, but it is
right.
unfolding into the deeper understanding, embodiment through this process.
That's amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Bianca.
You're
You're
welcome.
you're incredible. You've like provided so much information. I think on talk about peeling an onion, going really deep into opportunities that are out there for people to really get in touch with who they are. And thank you so much for being on this. I appreciate it.
And thank you for having me. And thank you so much for creating this podcast and bringing all this information out to those that could really benefit. And it's an absolute honor to have been on this one. And I am so excited for the rest to come.
Well, you're a healer and a therapist and a coach and a counselor and everything, but you are also a trauma rock star. So
Thank
thank
you.
you so,
You
so much.
too. Yeah. Good luck.
Appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Content on this podcast revolves around personal life experiences and is meant to serve as a learning tool. I'm not a certified therapist or medical expert. This podcast does not offer medical or psychological or professional advice. If you're curious about your mental and physical well being, feel free to reach out to a licensed healthcare professional for assistance.